And just a reminder, folks, to please have your ID.
Going somewhere alone feels very empowering. It's easy to catch a second alone and feel like, what am I doing? Why did I come here alone? And wonder if this trip would be more fun if I was with somebody. But I feel like the trips that I have gone on, this being my first solo trip, the moments that I did have alone where I was able to explore, I wanted more of that, and I craved more time being alone, being able to do whatever I wanted and go wherever I wanted.
So I'm settled in. This is my Airbnb. She's cute, she's quaint. It hasn't been raining, but it might. But I think today is going to be the coldest day of my trip, so, you know, hopefully it gets better. When I arrived in Victoria, I thought about, I don't know, I was just riding the bus and I was thinking about how cool seeing a new place is, and how that kind of awe while you're experiencing something for the first time, specifically a new place, only really happens in the way that it does the very first time that you see something. And it made me think, the first time that I visit somewhere, or the first time that I experience something, I should really try to be present and try to experience that thing for the first time in its totality, because the next time that I experience it, it won't be the same.
I'm trying to push myself to approach people with more openness and compassion, particularly strangers. I have a tendency to, I don't know, depends on the person, I guess, but I don't trust people enough to open up to them in a genuine way. And I feel like acting that way, especially on a trip alone where the only connections you have are with strangers, other than with yourself, or, you know, spending time alone and reflecting and whatever. I want to be able to talk to people and hear their perspectives and, I don't know, make more than just a couple sentences of small talk.
When I booked this trip, I was really excited to just explore Victoria through my sketchbook. I wanted to just draw everything. I had been dreaming of a trip where I can just be by myself and draw in my sketchbook to my heart's content. And I don't know, I booked this trip a year ago, and now that I'm here, I'm in the middle of a creative / existential crisis. Not a crisis, but I'm kind of accepting the block that I'm having creatively. I'm just I'm staying in this spot because it's raining and there's a bit of coverage here, so that's not right though, because coming on this trip, I'm still being creative. I'm making a video, and that's something that I was thinking about for myself, that if I'm having a season of my life that that isn't drawing or making art, I could could be leaning into other interests, because I like other things other than making art. And I feel like for my entire life, I've always thought that if I'm not doing one kind of art, then I should be doing another. But like, I like other things. I like film, I like film photography, and so maybe it's just a message that my brain or my mind is sending me, that I shouldn't try and force art, and maybe instead try and explore other parts of myself. I talk really slowly. I take really long pauses, and I was thinking about it, and I think it's because when I'm thinking in my mind, especially if the way that I behave is so sensitive towards how people will perceive me, when it's just in my brain, I know that there's no chance of anybody judging me. So when those thoughts are swirling around in my head, the words that are tied together, they make a lot of sense, and they're quick and they're concise. But then when I speak out loud, they get jumbled and confused and nervous. And I think that's because as soon as my thoughts make their way out of my mouth, they come into a space that can be judged, that can be perceived by others. And me being so afraid of other people's perceptions, it affects how I deliver that, and how much I have to think about how I'm going to say the things that I want to say. And I want to get better at that. This is actually so sketchy because my phone is literally just like leaning against this thing, which is like inches from falling in the water. Okay, I'm gonna pray that I'm in frame here. So as you can see, I'm sitting on the ocean. I'm trying stand-up paddleboarding for the first time, but it's very much not stand-up. It's more like sit-down paddleboarding. I've been thinking, I don't know, I've been filming myself wandering and exploring and stuff, and I would think that I had more thoughts about life and things to share, but I feel like after yesterday, my little mini crisis that I had at the Japanese gardens, I feel cool. I feel content. So yesterday I went to a jazz club. I took a video of the music. It was really nice. Yeah, so yesterday while I was watching the jazz people play, I drew them, and I drew my like area or whatever. And it made me feel okay again. I feel like I go through different phases of like trying to draw, and then the drawing not turning out, and then thinking like, oh my god, what's wrong with me? I can't draw. And then like later on, after I've cooled down, you know, trying to come at it again and drawing something that I like. So yeah, it's very much a mental thing, I think. So yeah, since then I've felt okay, and I'm just enjoying this trip as like a little mental health trip, not putting pressure on myself to make art while I'm here. Just enjoying the experiences that I'm having and trying to be present with it. which is what I should do. I should go not just sit and talk to my phone on this rare experience of being on the ocean, because we don't have ocean at home. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. Goodbye. As I've grown and I guess kind of come into my fully adult brain, a lot of things obviously are changing, as you would expect they would. But yeah, as I'm maturing, one of the things that particularly that I have noticed on this trip is that I am trying really hard to not only be compassionate to people, but be compassionate and try and really see the things that people put their hearts into, if that makes sense. For example, I went to this art gallery, this contemporary art gallery with student exhibitions, and it reminded me of when I was in art school. And I would walk around the main level of my art school to get to my design classes and just kind of scoff at the art that was on display because I didn't understand it, or because it didn't fit the conventional idea of what I thought good art was. And coming to this gallery on my own and really taking the time to look at each of the pieces, I'm trying to understand and appreciate what was going through the artist's mind and brain and what they were fucking dealing with in their life that would compel them to put so much effort and time into this thing that most people would just walk by and scoff at. You know? It makes me feel bad. I feel like a shitty person for doing that when I was younger, but I really didn't understand, and that's kind of the general attitude that you would take towards something that you don't understand, is that you just dismiss it. But I think it's really a beautiful thing when somebody, whether the outcome is aesthetically pleasing or has perfect craft or whatever, I think it's really beautiful when they bare their souls in this artwork that you may not understand, but it's a piece of them, I guess. And I feel like that much is admirable, and that much makes me want to understand a little better.